Can I request Rahul uh, to go next?
Thanks, Sridhar. Good afternoon, everyone. I think it's afternoon for most people. I agree with Lidhi, May, and Mariati, so I'm not going to repeat many of the problems and things we have to look at. I just want to discuss a slightly different perspective that we are taking on minerals, and it changes some of the way we think about tax and fiscal justice. So we are making the argument that minerals are basically inherited wealth, uh, and that we have an obligation to make sure that our children and future generations inherit what we did. Obviously, when we extract minerals, they're gone forever. So when we're mining, we're effectively selling off our family jewels or our family gold. And what we receive from the extractor in terms of royalty or production share or any of these things, we see it as not as tax or revenue. We see it as effectively like the privatization of something. We've sold our wealth, and what we get for that, we cannot be thinking of it as revenue or tax. And from that, we argue that we should not be looking to maximize revenue, but we should be instead be asking to avoid loss. Because when you sell your wealth, you want to get the full value of the wealth and avoid the loss. So I'll explain in my larger bit about some of the consequences that this has in terms of how we think about mining as well as the current situation. But let me just leave it here and hand it back to Sridhar.
Thank you very much, Rahul. I think this new perspective goes along with what Mariati has been also talking about. Now, can I request Rahul to make his presentation and take us through his thinking?
Okay.
You have 8 to 10 minutes, Rahul.
Yeah, I'll try and make it very quick. Okay. Uh, I'm just going to go back to what I was talking about at the beginning. And my goal today is to try and convince you that we have to stop thinking of minerals as windfall revenue or creators of windfall revenue. We have to think of it as a shared inheritance. So let me begin with the idea of intergenerational equity. This is the idea that what we inherit, we must make sure our future generations inherit. And the reason for this is pretty straightforward. Any kind of a system or a nation or a group of people who do not follow this system, this principle of making sure that your inheritance is kept intact, if each generation consumes part of the inheritance, soon enough there's nothing left and everything is finished. And that nation will collapse or that family will become bankrupt. Now, how does this come to minerals? So, as I was explaining earlier, minerals are wealth, inherited wealth. Extraction is basically the sale of this wealth. And what we're getting by way of royalty is, the sale proceeds in exchange for selling your wealth. Now, we did an analysis in Goa, where I live, and we looked at 8 years of mining. Now, in the Indian constitution, the states own the minerals, not the national government. So the experiment, the thought experiment was, whatever the extractor was extracting the minerals and selling it for, we as owners could have sold the mineral for the same amount of money. And we could have asked the extractor, please come and extract the mineral and give it to us so that we can sell it. And they'd have charged us all their expenses plus wanted a reasonable profit because they're in business. So when we did the numbers, this is over an 8-year period from 2004 to 2012. We found that for every 170 rupees of iron ore that got exported from Goa, the cost was 60 and this reasonable profit was 10, 70. So the value of the mineral that got exported was really 100. Our worth was 100. It turned out that the government of Goa, for 100 worth of minerals, got only 5. We lost 95. And this is not tax evasion. This is how the legal system is working because the numbers are taken from the annual report of the extracting company. So this is not like there's no tax avoidance in a sense or illicit money here. It's all licit relationships. Now, if the mining company is getting something worth 100 for 5, think about the incentives. They can pretty much buy out any politician, whether through lobbying, through political donations, or through bribes. They can buy out the entire local population or divide it, and they will basically go in and extract and try and disappear as quickly as they can. Now, let's think about the incentive of the politician. Why are they accepting 5? Well, one is that they're probably getting some benefits from their cronies on the side. But when they get the 5, the government accounting and all of us really think of this 5 of royalty as income or revenue. So the politician is very happy to get income or revenue from extraction because they don't need to raise a tax. They go to the voter and say, let's increase extraction, we'll get more revenue, and in turn your taxes go down, or we can give you a bigger subsidy, or we can build you a road, or in India the new thing is to build statues. So the politician and the voter are also very happy to promote extraction. And think about the dynamics. If you're extracting 5, if you double extraction, it becomes 10 is what you're getting. But the true story is we've lost 95 and 95 has become a loss of 190. The sums are enormous. Just in Goa, I know it was like over $10 billion was lost. Now, why do we call royalties as revenue or tax or income? This is from a long-standing practice. Historically, minerals you couldn't extract the way you did today. It used to be in remote places. It was hard work, and you got it back and you could barely sell it for what it was worth. So traditionally, governments have always called it revenue. But we've actually now tried to change the global standards. We've met the IMF and we've met the other standards body, the International Public Sector Accounting Standards Board, and explain to them that as long as politicians can call it revenue, every single bit of mineral will be extracted because politicians and voters will agree to do that, and everything will get consumed, and you will get all the kinds of problems we have today. Now, I want to just take it a little bit further in terms of the current crisis. If you think about the rule that we're talking about, we're saying that first what we inherit must be held for future generations. And then if there is some income available from from your natural resources or from your other inheritances, then the present generation has to decide how to divide it up. A lot of the discussion that goes on with extractives is let's extract it and then let's do something for the poor. So politically what it means is that the rich are saying, the poor, there are no resources for you, so please take it from your children. The same thing is happening at the COVID time when we talk about fiscal deficits, because again, the government is borrowing, the taxes will have to be repaid by everybody, especially the poor, and the rich are the people lending to the government. And the future generations eventually will have to repay the debt. So we're basically trying to deal with the problem by taking from the future because they have no political power and because we are not being able to challenge the rich. So I think the Zina's point that we actually have to think about directly about wealth taxes and challenging the system, because we cannot accept this taking from the poor or taking from future generations and leaving them less and less, because that is inevitably going to lead to a collapse of a society, a civilization, and humanity in totality. But if we look at minerals as wealth, there are 5 principles we use in India to just explain how transformative it can be. The 5 principles are: states own minerals as a trustee on behalf of the people and especially future generations. Principle 2, since we have inherited the minerals, we must make sure future generations inherit either the minerals or its value. So we can leave the minerals in the ground and the future generations will inherit the minerals. But if we decide to extract the minerals,
Rahul, Rahul, you'll need to come closer to the mic. This thing is not audible to the translator.
Okay. So the third principle is, if we decide to extract the mineral and sell them, we must ensure zero loss, because we are selling our wealth. It has a certain value in the market and we must get every bit of it. And a lot of the tax avoidance discussions we're having just now is basically different forms of loss of our wealth. But if you think of this as wealth protection, actually many other things come about.
Again, your voice is breaking.
Let me try it. Okay. So the third principle is, if we extract and sell our minerals, we must make sure we get the full value of the minerals. We must ensure zero loss in value. Principle 4 is, whatever we receive from selling our minerals, we must save for our future generations. One simple way which is to put it into a big mutual fund, and the rich do this a lot. They put it into a low-cost mutual fund, very low expense, and the return is very difficult to beat. Principle 5 is, everybody owns the mineral. Everybody owns this fund created from the mineral. The income, it belongs to everybody, distributed equally to everybody as a citizen's dividend. It's a right of ownership. It's not a benefit or a subsidy. We own the mineral, it's our income. And the future generations will get the income when they inherit the fund. And if you think this through, it makes a lot of changes. We can extend these principles to other things like the environment, to the local community, to employment and things like that, but I won't go into that. I'll send you a couple of papers we've written on this. But fundamentally, if we think of minerals as windfall, everybody's going to say, let's pick up the windfall and consume it. We're going to be cheating our future generations. If we think of minerals as a shared inheritance and mining as the sale, we're going to be asking, why are we selling our wealth? Is this the right time to sell? Are we ensuring zero loss? Are we saving for our future generations? That change in thinking will change the way we look at everything to do with mining. Let me stop here for the moment.
Yeah. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you very much, and you were well in time. And I think this is something that we all should look forward to thinking through. And just as Sukagrel mentioned in our initial remarks, that how do we change this kind of an economy? I think first is to claim that everyone owns these minerals and not the companies.